Hey guys, this is Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn, and we are facing a very much popular gambit popularized by GothamChess, Levy-Rosman, the Blackmar-Diemer gambit after d4, d5, e4. Now, e4 is not the most common move in this position. Typically, black plays the queen's gambit with c4, and of course, black has many options, e6 or c6, or even accepted. But here the theme is different. White is going for sacrificial type of chess, which is reminiscent of the 19th century chess players, giving up the pawn. We're going to take the central pawn. Okay. Now, what could white do here? Knight c3 is probably the most popular move. Now, f3 is also popular, but here it allows this e5 beautiful idea. Once you know this endgame is bad for white, don't be afraid to give back the pawn. You're going to take on e5 next, just to illustrate how bad this position is. He's got an isolated pawn, the king that cannot castle. We got this tempo check, castles. Black is doing great here. So that's why they play knight c3 first, kind of like a waiting move, and also hitting the pawn on e4. We play knight here. Now they play f3. Okay, so this is like an improved version of the original gambit, right? The German master Diemer wrote a book on this in the 1950s. That's why it's called Blackmar-Diemer, right? Both of these guys contributed to theory. We protect the pawn, bishop f5, 𝐥𝐸𝐬. The most common move is to take the pawn. I don't like this. It gives white rather easy development, and this is my recommendation. So what can they do? They can play f takes e4. Now, sometimes they play g4 to gain the pawn back, but it does ruin their structure. For example, g5, knight d5, knight takes e4, right? Look at their pawns. Are they overextended? Yes. Is the king weak? Yes. How can we punish it? e5 𝐥𝐸𝐬. We strike in the center, and we now counter them with our own gambit. And if they take knight c6, hitting the pawn, they pin us, we're going to castle long. For example, knight c2, knight e2, which is a mistake, castles, simply queen h3. The attack, as we say, plays itself. Bishop takes e4, intermezzo, setting up a cool tactic, and then bam, knight e3 wins the game on the spot. Why? Well, you guys can see that after bishop takes b7, king takes b7, white is lost. Mate in one, and the queen threats. They cannot take the rook because, of course, they get mated. So again, this is kind of a nice antidote, and I love this counter gambit approach. So bishop f5, let me go back. Again, trying to lure the pawn to g4 and g5, and then immediately go with e5, setting up the queenside castle. As I show you, their natural moves run into this queen h3 with a great attack. Another cool intermezzo here is bishop takes e4 and knight e3, game over. So let's go back. And what if they don't play g4? You may wonder, well, they can play pawn takes. In that case, we're going to take the pawn. Now if knight takes e4, bishop e4, there is no compensation. We don't have any bad pieces, right? The bishop is a monster in the middle. We can just do whatever we want. So they typically try to use this tempo to harass our bishop, also attacking the knight. So accuracy is required. Now we use the tempo to take that knight, giving them a choice. Queen takes, or queen takes c3, or even pawn takes. So queen takes b7 drops material on the spot because of bishop e4. Notice how our knight protects the bishop, and the bishop attacks the queen and protects the rook. So this is what easy one to remember. And if they play after knight takes c3, pawn takes c3, logical move to recapture. One can say we can go pawn hunting with bishop takes c2. Don't play e6. Rather give up the b7 pawn. Make him work for it, guys. So, okay, he's going to take the pawn. Just play knight d7. And what is the situation here? We have already two minor pieces developed, about to get the bishop out on castle. White has none. and the queen on b7 does not count as a developed piece. So for example, knight f3, let's kick the queen and offer the a7 pawn. Queen takes a7, bishop takes c2, bishop g5, f6, kicking the bishop. Now let's offer the bishop swap, take, take. And now I'm going to show you a really cool idea to protect that pawn. King e7. What an unusual idea, right? Instead of castling, the king protects the key pawn. You may wonder, well, what if white just castles? Queen c8 hits the bishop on c4. Let's say they play a logical move, bishop d3. Bam, we hit the queen on a7, and we win the game. So that's one of the key ideas, that you trap the enemy queen using your queen, rook, and knight. And so this is important to remember, this king e7, queen c8, rook a8 concept. So basically, they don't really have a good choice. The other option left is to take the bishop, leaving this knight under attack. We get the tempo on the queen. Queen d3 back, knight d5, check. Of course, they want to win the b7 pawn. Please, you say, take the pawn. Queen takes b7, check intermezzo, and now the star move of my entire idea. It seems as though black is lost. Knight's under attack, bishop's under attack. We're going to lose one of these guys. Tempo move, knight takes d4. What an awesome shot. They cannot take the knight, the pawn is pinned. They can only take the bishop or insert the check. Well, if they take the bishop, you already see what's coming. There's a major fork in the air. So typically they try to insert this intermezzo check. Again, king e7, you've seen this idea before. They cannot use the power of the fact that our king's in the middle, because this is going to run into f6. They cannot take the bishop. They can, but let me show you what happened. Check, and they resign because of the fork. So bishop d3 makes the most sense instead of this check. Then we play rook b8, queen a6, takes, takes, and that's the whole point. We have this cool tactic, and they lose the game.
Hey, check this video out to make sure that you get more important information to bring your chess to the next level.